product we have that we've created is an exact replica of the first communicator that was used by Kirk at the beginning of the first series of the original series of Star Trek. It's a device he took down on the planet and he used to call up the spaceship when he wanted to be beamed back on or he wanted to talk to his crew. We chased down the original prop, and there's still one remaining in a safe somewhere in a secret location in the US. We chased it down. We took the guy who owns it to a special scanning studio. We scanned the prop and then we used those scan data, and measurements that we took to recreate it exactly, very accurately. We stuffed it full of Bluetooth technology so that it could actually be a communicator. It pairs with a phone that's a Bluetooth-enabled telephone, mobile phone, cell phone, and as a result of that you can make calls on it and you can take calls on it, like a real communicator. First of all, recreating the prop to be as accurate as possible, you have to take really accurate measurements. Most props actually are fairly handmade and fairly damaged after 50 years of being around, so they're quite hard to copy and get right. As it happens, the communicator prop has been kept in really good condition and still looks good, and it was a very good prop in the first place, so copying it wasn't that difficult. Finding it, once you've tracked it down, once you've got it in your hands, you can measure it. That's pretty much the easiest step. Replicating things like the grille, getting the manufacturing right, getting the correct thickness of material, the correct finish on it, the correct radii here with a bend radius at the sides, getting the action right, getting the exact texture on the communicator itself. The texture on the original, there's a little interesting little fact here. The texture on the original was from a piece of material that was basically to replicate leather called kydex, and it was vacuum formed, that is stretched over a sort of shape to make the body, and it's a way that people make one-offs and small numbers of products. We have to make ours by injection molding. That's a mass production process. But when you vac form something or thermoform it, you stretch the material. So you start with a pattern on one side, which is a certain dimension, and obviously the material stretches down the side of the mold. Right. So we measured that stretch and we replicated it in the pattern. So the pattern isn't even over the whole surface, it's actually stretched on the side. And there's little details like this that fans really appreciate. We took a great care to make sure, for example, this metal disc here that you see, which is called the bezel, for what was a moire display. This was handmade for the original prop, and there were a few props made. And because the prop makers, when they made it, they didn't exactly copy each one. So there's a whole sort of style of different little bezels which have different amount of ridges in. So we had to measure those really carefully. So there's a whole lot of detail, including something like the mic grill, the gaps between the bezel and the surface. I don't know if you can see that in the film here, but there's a very slight gap between the bezel and the surface. Well, that was on the original prop, and we use that gap to pipe the sound out, because we have a speaker underneath here, and that's where the sound comes out. Obviously, with prop replicas, most of the ones that have come before us that are prop replicas tend to be just replicas of props from shows. And in the show, you don't really need the prop to do anything. All the things that it does can be post-production effects, even the sound effects and even lights will be put on afterwards. So to make something, what our goal was to make something that looked exactly like the prop, but actually had a real world function as well. So inside this, we have to put in the Bluetooth, we have to put in the speakers, the sound, we have to put in the power supply. So we have to try and cram everything into this product to make it work like it does on the show. We still know that the collector who collects this and wants to use it like a real thing also wants to stand it on their desk or on their shelf and display it. And part of the excitement of making a prop, something lovely that people can own and display, that they can actually feel proud of, is making a stand to go with it. Now, in this case, we've got a nice metal base for our stand, and we have a piece that slots into it. This has got a magnetic catch inside that you can't see, and it's got a soft rubber surface. It's also got contactless and wireless charging, so that when the communicator is placed in place, it not only stands on it very securely, but it's being charged at the same time when it's plugged into a power supply. The device has perhaps three main functions. Its major function is to be a communicator, and that is to take and make telephone calls via a cell phone that's a Bluetooth enabled cell phone. If I turn it on, You can see there that it's the wire disc starts to turn, the light flashes green, so it is on. It's not paired with anything yet. When it's paired, the blue light here flashes. But the secondary function, or maybe the primary, depending on who you are, is it's got to be something that you can play with, something that you can really enjoy and immerse yourself in the character, the feeling of being actually there. And so we've hidden inside it, we've put inside it 20 different sounds and voice clips so that you can have little conversations with it, as if you were the captain. These two buttons, one is a press button and one is a jog, like a jog button. So you can go up, down, left and right and in and out. So here we go.
Enterprise, Spock here.
You hear the dulcet tones of Spock coming out. Now that's a simple jog up, but if I jog twice,
Affirmative, Captain. Enterprise out.
I get a different sentence fragment. And there are 2 or 3 sentence fragments for each character. So you can have little conversations with them if you want.
McCoy here.
So we've got Bones.
Received and understood.
So you can imagine what I can do. And once I've paired my communicator with my mobile phone or music streaming device, whatever, then it can take and receive calls. It can also be a little Bluetooth speaker. So it can sit on my desk on its stand. And you know, if I want to play music through my music streaming watch or through my MP3 device, it will come out up here as a little speaker. So it's got those 3 kind of functions. And I suppose the 4th function really is as a display item for displaying it. What you can see is it comes in a rather nice transit case. And one of the things we've done with our props over the years is present them in a way as if they were real products, that if you were a member of the crew of the Starship Enterprise, this is what you would be given on your first day at work. It's your case, your flight case, with a description of the product there, and then inside the sort of protective rubber. This is the charging cord, and these are spaces for the device and the stand. So the communicator in America is being sold for $150. It's online at companies like ThinkGeek, StarTrek.com, Amazon, Hammacher Schlammer, and it'll be so in Best Buy in stores.